This Dubai World Cup update is proudly brought to you by Betting World, a strategic partner with Saftote and Teletrack and an integral part of the development of thoroughbred horse racing in South Africa. And we're very pleased to be able to bring you the maestro, KOCK, to talk about his runners since the progression of Super Saturday. We start off by talking to him about the size of the fields and the Dubai World Cup itself, in which he doesn't have a runner, but insightful nevertheless to find out what KOCK has got to say about the 20th anniversary of the Dubai World Cup.
Yeah, the fields are quite substantially down, I think, except in one or two of the turf races. But you know, at the end of the day, these are the sort of these last few days going into the race are when it's all sort of holding your breath, hoping nothing goes wrong.
Well, I'd like to touch on the Dubai World Cup, even though we haven't got a runner, for the simple reason that Patrick says it's a kind of renaissance of what the Dubai World Cup was originally set out to be in the days of Dubai Millennium and Pleasantly Perfect, Medaglia d'Oro. He says the real proper dirt horses have stepped up to the plate, and that the horses that have got form over here in the UAE are going to find it tough.
I agree. You know, I mean, just from a personal point of view, looking at form, there's a few of these horses that really on paper almost shouldn't be parading with California Chrome. I mean, he's got to be one of the best dirt horses in the world, and sadly one or two of the other real quality ones in America haven't come. But he's here, and I think whatever beats him wins. You know, if he's travelled well and all goes well, I have no doubt in my mind he's just a far superior animal to anything locally or anything we've seen through the carnival.
Well, I was having a chat to the handicapper this morning, and he's got this horse California Chrome at 124, and he said that Roger Smith promoted Pylon at 117. Now, to me, that sounds wrong. I don't know exactly where he is sitting at the moment, but how's his merit rating looking at the moment?
Well, he's way down on that, Andrew. I don't think he ever was, but the problem is when in South Africa is when you've got well, it's I would call it a closed community, but very few horses coming from other countries with ratings racing on dirt. So there was the creep factor. He was just beating the same old horses by further and further and further. So I don't think we can take those rating like that seriously. It wouldn't, you know, it's just really, they can only handicap on what they see in front of them. So, you know, to criticise that is unfair, because that's what the horse was achieving in South Africa, but beating what, you know?
Yeah, he said this is the dilemma he has. But okay, let's go to the ground now. We spoke to literally days after Super Saturday. How has he improved on that run, and are you happy with him?
No, he's improved. Pylon's definitely a fitter horse. He's a better horse for the run. It's all coming quite soon. I'm hoping he'll run a big race and give us something to shout about. There's a few horses there that are going to be very, very tough to beat. But you know, I think if we can manage the frame, it would be huge.
I happened to catch Johnny G this morning at the track. He's riding another horse that you've been entrusted the care of.
Yeah, the American horse came over. It's actually been trained by Dale Romans. He's a hell of a nice looking horse. He's got some impressive form. He's owned by the Zayat family, who are very big owners in America. And I think actually they probably own the two anti-post Kentucky Derby favourites at the moment. But he has had a few niggles arriving here. It hasn't been straightforward. We've had a few feet issues with him. So we're playing each day as it goes.
Right, yeah, put it that way. Okay. Then on to the marathon trip of the day. You mooted that it may well be your best performer on the day, Al Moonquith, with the ever game, ever consistent Star Empire.
Yeah, I think so. Al Moonquith is, for me, an up-and-coming stayer. Star Empire has been around for a while. He's had a lot of chances. Very, very honest horse, and he's been absolute pleasure to train for us here. So, and he's been honest. But again, it would be very tough to him to win. Al Moonquith is a type of horse, I think, that has the credentials to win it. He has the speed. He just needs a bit of luck in running.
Okay, on to the Al-Khwar sprint. Patrick said he figured that there could be 10 different results in this race, but you'll be one of the people knowing full well that Via Africa has improved in leaps and bounds since her debut on Super Saturday.
Yeah, well, she had to, Andrew. I think just in terms of fitness, she's not straightforward to train. You know, obviously, you know, she does have a little niggles, but she seems in really good form at the moment. We haven't done too much with her between then and now. She put up a really good piece of work here at Saturday. I'm not so sure that we're going to do much more going into the race. In fact, I'll probably take her in on the treadmill it'll be the safer route rather than tempting fate and taking it to the track.
Okay, I got a very rare interview this morning with Abu Dhabi television, and they were asking me what I thought about the UAE Derby. I said, well, the results are self-explanatory. It's Michael de Kock versus Saeed bin Sarur, and it looks very little different this year.
I hope you're right. I think the Japanese are horses we always have to have respect for. They bring a, I don't think they guess when they travel. They bring a nice horse. They obviously want to win as much as we do. I think Saeed and I have got three really nice horses between us, and there's not much between Mubtaij, Maftool and Sir Fever. I'm expecting Sir Fever to improve. So, again, it's going to boil down to luck in running, I reckon, pace. I don't like our gate one. Just watching the dirt races this year, it's not for me. I think it's a disadvantage. I would rather have been out deep.
In other words, you just have to put the hammer down. You can't afford to give away that start because you're going to get the kickback.
That's right, yeah, and that's if someone takes you on. You might get a soft lead out of it, and it works very well in your favour. I mean, I'm happy to go all the way, but as long as we're not going too hard. But I know it's the shortest route home, but it can be also the route that can give you the most problems.
Reflecting on the Shima Classic, you had an awesome filly in Sun Classic who you knew was just extra special, but I don't really think that you believe that you could actually win the Shima Classic with a horse called Oracle West, who picked up $1 million because of his sheer gameness and his consistency. And I would think that perhaps Umgio falls into the same category in the duty free.
Yeah, he's in good form, and he's a horse that's trained here locally. He's sound, he's had a great prep, and he's a good, sound, honest horse. I think that he must have some sort of a chance. The 1800 is probably 18 and 2000 probably a good trip for him. I would have preferred probably a 2000, but given that and a good pace, he'll be thereabouts.
By and large, you happy with your bag this year, Mike, given the circumstances that you've had to endure and your horses?
Yeah, sure, and I think we're coming into World Cup night with a few very live chances. If one can get one in a night like that, it's huge. But if they all run, if they run well, it's great too. The carnival's been okay for us. I wouldn't say it's been great, but we had to change strategy from the start. And once we realised we were in, I mean, a lot of smart horses haven't run it all as well. So we just sort of had to rethink and just knuckle down. I mean, it's still at the end of the day, the horses have earned 5.5 million dirhams. It's not shabby for an ordinary carnival.
Yeah, well, when you look at the exchange rate, it's more that you've earned back home in a much longer period of time.
Yeah, if you think it's 10 winners and back home you could have 110 winners and still not get there. So it's still been good, but it definitely could have been better. And I would like to have seen a few people rewarded for travelling the horses and having the confidence to come here. But it wasn't to be, and I think if we patient with the horses, they will return. They will definitely reward.
Finally, Mike, speaking to Martin Talty very briefly, and you look at the mentality of some of the English trainers who would far rather stay at home and win these inverted commas prestigious races that are worth next to nothing. I still think that the opportunity is a very fertile one for anybody who's brave enough to come here that doesn't have the restrictions that we have imposed upon us.
Sure, Andrew. It's if we're still going to have these restrictions imposed as we have over the last few years. I mean, I've got to really look at things. We're going to have to travel a hell of a lot earlier, which takes you out of the play in South Africa with the horses. It's a big risk, it's a big gamble, and the travelling does open horses up for injury. So one's got to be careful. But I mean, anybody in Europe should have no excuses. Fly in here, they can prepare them at home, they can run them off the plane, which I think is an absolute pleasure. I wish I had that. I was in that situation, that I could arrive here with a fit horse. So. But again, each one to his own. I make a big deal of the carnival and have a full go at it. The European trainers prefer the European carnivals or festivals of racing. I mean, I think that's what keeps the world going, keeps it ticking, the racing world. Everyone, you can't target everything, and one has to prioritise when you're dealing with horses. They're not machines that we can run month in, month out.
Finally, Mike, I haven't really heard anything concrete yet, but it looks like we might have some light at the end of the tunnel with regard to a different approach to exporting horses out of South Africa with a lockdown and a different protocol.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people doing as much as they can, Andrew, and I think that hopefully we'll be rewarded, but it's going to take the support and everyone getting behind and not getting ahead of ourselves. It's wait until it happens before we start shouting from the rooftops. Let's, but I know that there's a lot of people sympathetic to our cause, which is a big help.